Hello everyone, Mike Rempel from Excel Bytes with today's Excel blog post. Recently I did a blog post about taking a list of items, a table so to speak, that had multiple entries for various cities and converting that into somewhat of an unpivoted table where it just listed each of the cities individually and the first four entries in the columns next to it. Some of them had more than four entries, some of them had less. But I came across a snag with that. So in this blog post, we're going to take a look at an alternative way to accomplish that same task. So let's see how we can do that in Excel. So here was our scenario. We had this list here, various cities, Detroit, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, etc. And each one had data, but there were different quantities. Detroit had 7 different entries, Cleveland had 5, Pittsburgh had more, etc., all the way down. And what I wanted to do is convert that and just pull into this table here the first 4 entries of each one of those cities. And if they had less, just put an NA. If they had more, just ignore those. And what we did was we used the transpose function with offset and the minimum functions. And if you want to watch the previous version of this, I'll leave the link in the notes below. But there became one problem, and that was when there was only one single entry for a city. So if I go down to the bottom here, and I'm just going to change this to LA. So I only have one entry for LA, and I'll add that here. Now when I copy that down, before I do, now again, remember LA just had one entry with the value of 16. Now when I copy that down, look what happens. Transpose function actually puts 16 in every one of the cells, not just in the first one. And that was a situation that I didn't anticipate when I came up with this concept. So let's look at an alternative way to accomplish this. So we're looking at our second worksheet here, and I have the same scenario, and I do have LA at the bottom. So I have my list of cities here. And what we're going to do is we're going to insert a helper column here. And what the helper column is going to do, I'm just going to call it count. And what we're going to do is we're going to concatenate the city name and the COUNTIF function. And the COUNTIF function, the range is going to be $A, $2 to A2, and the criteria is going to be A2. So what that's going to do is take the city location and then add a 1, 2, 3, etc. to the back side of that. You see if I copy it down, it's Detroit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then I changes to Cleveland, then to Pittsburgh, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that all the way down here. So now we're going to enter a formula into this area to pull the data from column D into it. If there's more than 4, we just want the first 4 entries. If there's less, we just want to leave it a blank. So we're going to use the VLOOKUP function, and our lookup value is going to be the city name, and I want to lock the column letter, so I'm going to hit that F4 3 times, and I'm going to concatenate that with the column function. And the column function, my reference is going to be $1. I'm going to close that, and that's my lookup value. My table array is going to be from B2 down to D105, and again I'm going to lock that, hitting the F4 key. I want to pull in the data from the third column. I want it to be an exact match. I hit enter, and I get a 9, which is the first entry for Detroit. I copy that over, and now notice I get 9, 10, 8, and 6. But I want to add an if error function so that if it does generate an error, I want it to put a blank instead. So let me copy that back over, then copy these down, and it now populated everything correctly. Where there were less than 4, it just put a blank from the if error function. Notice our entry for LA only has the 16 one time, not the 4 times like it did when we used the transpose function. So how did this formula work? Well, again, if we run through the VLOOKUP function, our lookup value took the city and concatenated that with the column number. If I hit F9, you'll see basically it says let's look up Detroit 1, which would be the first item in our lookup table from column B. It would look up in that range, pull in the data from the third column, which would be the data column, make it an exact match, and it pulled in the number 9. If we look at, say, for example, this one here, notice it's going to take F3 and column D1, because since I didn't lock the column letter here, it went from A, B, C, D, and column D is a number 4, or the 4th column in this worksheet. So our lookup value would resolve to being CLE4, and CLE4 returns a number 16, and that's exactly what it did here. So that's an alternate way of converting a data set like this into a more consolidated one, but not having a single entry repeat multiple times like it did with the transpose function. And that's how you can do that in Excel. And there you have it. I hope you like what you see. If you do like what you see here, please take a minute to share this post on your favorite social network. I can be found on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So I hope you enjoy this. If you'd like to see more, please feel free to stop by my website, excel-bytes.com, and I hope you subscribe. So have a great day and happy excelling.